Hello and welcome to an all-new season of the weekly edition of Perspectives. I'm Deacon Pedro. This year, 2015, has been declared by Pope Francis to be the year for consecrated life. And so we are dedicating some of this space to celebrating consecrated life. For the next couple of months, we're going to have different people with various different backgrounds talking exactly about that, consecrated life. What is consecrated life? That is the question we're asking. And to help us answer that question, today I'm joined by Sister Monique Bourget of the Institute of St Marcelina, all the way from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
That's right.
Sister, but from Montreal originally?
Correct.
Now, Sister, did you always know you wanted to be a religious sister?
Not at all.
Tell me about your, the phone call, the call.
I belong to a family of 5 children. Mm-hmm. I'm the last one. And then I went to school like anybody else. Loved sports, was a lifeguard. I went to the Sisters of St Marcelina for high school.
Okay,
for
so
4
they have
years.
a school in Montreal.
They do. They have 2 schools, and they have a house for elderly people.
Yes.
And during my high school, I was tempted, I did a lot of volunteer work. I really like to help people, and that's always been, my family likes to help others.
Yeah.
And I was doing volunteer work, and I said, I thought I was getting a lot of gain through it, but it was not enough. Like, I would come back home and I'd say, well, what now? And I would love parties, love dancing.
Yeah, of course.
And then I had a couple of boyfriends, and then it was always like, that was not filling me. I was looking for something else, and I thought it would help people. And something that really called me was when I saw these UNICEF commercials. And then you see all these poor people.
Like the third world commercials.
That's right. Yeah. And you see the people in Africa, and then you say, well, where are they? Because in Montreal, you have people on the streets now more than before. But then I said, well, I want to do something. And then I had the experience of going to Guatemala for a month.
For a month.
To do a missionary experience to see if it was what I was going to do.
So you felt that the volunteer work that you were doing was not fulfilling because it wasn't enough?
That's right. I would come home and then I needed to do more. I needed to do more constantly. And then I couldn't find a way. And I thought, well, I'll go see what's in other countries.
And then how was that experience?
I went to live with the Capuchin sisters.
Capuchins?
Right.
Yeah.
For a month, and I helped in a nutrition center.
In Guatemala?
In Guatemala. And that was a real life-turning experience for me.
Right, of course.
Because I really was living in a community. There was only 3 sisters, and that's the funny part, because small community. They're all 3 from different backgrounds, one from Guatemala, one from Spain, and one from Peru.
Now, did you speak Spanish?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I learned Spanish in school for 4 years,
yeah.
So I was quite fluent. And then when I got there, and I saw the sisters that were doing all these work, and they had a habit.
Yes.
That was very important.
Yes.
They had a habit, and then they went out to the communities, and they helped the prostitutes, they helped women to go back to work, and I just thought, well, they do so much things. And the good thing was they didn't have to speak. They didn't preach or anything. Right. They would do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was important for me, because I don't like speaking in public. And I thought that was very important. So I started talking to one of the sisters in particular. She was called Sister Bianca. And then at the beginning I didn't pray with them. But then there were only 3. And that's the funny part, because when my bedroom was right beside the church, the chapel, and they would sing, but it was like not
great singing.
No. And I said, well, instead of being in my bed, it's better to go with them and pray and to try to understand a little bit more, because their singing was really bad. Then she would take me to meditate on the beach, on the sea, and then she would talk about her vocation, and she was 18 when she decided to become an.
You were 18?
Yeah,
around
I was 17,
age?
going to 18.
Yeah.
And then, and she had had a boyfriend, and I just left my boyfriend to go to my experience. And then I said, well, God calls, and then I've been happy, and that was very important for me. And then one of the visits we did, and that's really a mark in my history. We went to see the houses, and the people were very poor, but even in the poor people, they would offer you water. they would want to offer you something
Right.
whenever you'd come. And then when we went out of the house, she went a little bit forward, and I stayed a little bit back. And there was this child, which was half nude, no bottom, just the little top,
Yes.
which was all wrecked. And then that little boy was looking at me, and I looked at him, and then I heard that verse. It says, "Well, I was nude, and you clothed me, and I was hungry, and you gave me food." And that was really strong for me. And I said, well, that's what I want to do. I want to help people. I want to dedicate my life to help people.
So was it because you were with sisters that you equated the helping people with religious life? Because I see those as two separate things.
Right. I have a religion. My family's always been Catholic.
So you grew up Catholic. You never had moments as a teenager.
I did. At 15, I said, well, that's my parents' religion, and then I began to go to a youth group, and that helped me a lot to seek, and we would pray together, and then we started to go to the charismatic renewal. So my parents started to go, and then I followed too, and that my crisis didn't last very long, but it just
And I guess it was strengthened by the experience in Guatemala with those sisters.
That's right.
So then you came back to Canada, and I guess the seed was planted.
That's right. And then I said, well, I want to go back and then go with those sisters.
So you weren't even considering
religious
university?
Life before. No, not even.
You were actually then considering religious life.
That's right. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to go. And then my parents, and then one of the sisters who had followed me through high school, and then I was friend with her. I do catechism in one of the parishes with her.
Yeah.
I started to talk to her, and then said, well, I really want to go. I really want to go back, and I really want to be a sister, because that's, I think, what I'm being called for.
Yeah.
And she said, well, think about it a little bit. That's far, and that's another congregation. There's none here in Montreal. And then I started to look through different religious congregations. So
you were actively discerning specific congregations,
that's right.
like dating.
Right, a little bit,
Right,
I guess, yeah. But then I had ended up coming back to the congregation where I studied.
Yeah.
To the sisters.
You're more familiar with those sisters.
They have a community life, which is like a family life, and they have a habit.
It sounds like you're saying that the community life was part of the draw as well.
Because I'm part of a big family, so I really love being family.
Of course. Yeah. Now, how did your friends or your brothers and sisters respond to when you were going through this time?
Well, think about it first. Are you sure that's really what you want to do? And then they said, well, you have to do profession as well.
Okay.
So you have to
So these are your parents saying this to you?
My parents and my brothers and sisters and my
Because
friends.
you're a professional,
I'm a physician.
You're a doctor, yeah.
Yes.
So did you go, so then how did you...
Mix the two?
Well, did you join the congregation first, and then you went...
So that's the other, I think that's another moment in my life where I was finishing my second year of CEGEP, and then I have a brother-in-law who's a physician as well. And he said, well, if that's really what you want, why don't you be a physician? Because that's going to open doors to you. You're going to be able to do a lot of things, and you're good. I was good at school.
Yeah.
I didn't have to study all that much. And then being a lifeguard, you have to do some
first aid, yeah, of course,
things. And then we're like 4 of us are lifeguard in my family, so we're. And then I said, okay, God, if that's really what you want to do with me, well, you show me the way.
Yeah.
Because I think through discernment, you have to pray a lot, and you have to really put your hands in the hands of God and say, well, you guide me. And I think God really does that.
Yeah.
Because if you really believe that God is in power of our lives, although He gives us some liberty, you have to have confidence.
Well, you do, and that's difficult for a lot of people. It's surrendering, it's trusting.
That's right.
So you have to have a relationship with God before that you can trust.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, so praying, I said, well, okay, I'm going to apply. And then if it's meant for me to go in medical school, then
it'll happen.
Because it's hard, right, to go to medical school. Yeah. My brother tried a lot of times, didn't go. And I applied to McGill and to Montreal. And I got accepted both. And I said, well, that's a big signal that I should. And then because I'd already decided I really want to go into religious life, I went to see the deans and the consuls who helped with the application, and then I said, well, I want to go into religious life as well, but I have to go for 2 years in Italy, which was where novitiate, right? Because I was going to enter that year.
So as soon as you enter the Sisters of St Marcelina,
there's a postulant year
in Italy.
No.
Oh, okay.
That was going to be in Canada.
Okay.
And then 2 years of novitiate
So you were thinking of doing your
Italy.
postulancy at the same time as you were going to medical school.
That's right.
Yeah.
But then I would have to stop for 2 years.
Yes.
And then I went to the French side. And the French side, so, no, we can't do that. We can't stop. And then in the English side, we have a pre-med year, and then 4 years, because there's 2 ways of going to medicine.
Right.
And then for God's providence, we had one of the, because we have a school, we have one of the mom's kids who was at the consul at McGill.
Yeah.
And she helped. She said, well,
right.
The sisters are firm, they know what they want, and that's going to be very helpful for the community. And they accepted.
Yeah.
So I went to McGill for first year, I did my postulate year.
Yeah.
Then went to Italy
2 years
for
off.
2 years.
And then
came back.
The rest is history. And we're going to get to a little bit of more of that. So we're speaking with Sister Monique Bourget of the Institute of St Marcelina. Her discernment story, not just for religious life, but also for a career, your professional career. And that's important. We're going to take a little break, but don't go too far, because we're going to come right back and continue this conversation on Consecrated Life.
Let us know your perspective. Email us at perspectives@saltandlighttv.org or reach us by mail, Perspectives at Salt and Light Television, 114 Richmond Street East, Toronto, Ontario, M5C 1P1, or call us toll free at 1-888-302-7181. Let your perspective be heard.
We're speaking with Sister Monique Bourget of the Institute of St Marcelina. Fascinating discernment process. The Institute of St Marcelina, you chose them, I guess, because they're the sisters that you were familiar with. They were in Montreal. That's probably not the only reason.
That's right.
Tell us more about the Institute.
Well, one big thing is that I thought they have a habit, which I said
so
before.
Why was that important for you?
I think because I don't like to talk a lot in public, and it's a signal. So
it's a witness.
That's right, testimony.
A sign.
Wherever you go,
people know.
That's right. And when people go around with me, they say, "Oh, aren't you tired of getting everybody looking at you?" I said, "I don't even know it anymore."
Do you find that people actually approach you because they feel they can, because you're wearing a habit?
Yeah.
Both positively and negatively?
Well, I've had a lot more positive than negative.
Yeah, so it is a sign.
Even through medical school, it was like...
So you were wearing the habit, I guess.
I wear it all the time. That's the only thing I have.
Going through medical school.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay, so the habit was important. What else about the St. Marcelina?
The family life. I think that the community life at St. Marcelina, which is one of what our founder really wanted.
And the house in Montreal where you were living, is it a big community?
No, there was 10 of us.
Oh, that's a good size.
Yeah.
And the house in Italy?
Well, that was my formation house. So there was 9 of us in the novitiate. So
in formation.
Yeah.
Nice.
We were from all over the world, from Mexico, from Italy, and
that's great.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the charism of the congregation?
Education. That's the main. We were born as a teaching community because at that time, at 1838, was when our founder, which is Monsignor Luis Spinacchi, he's an Italian priest, founded us to teach, because he thought if we educate people, we can try to have a Christian view in society. And he really believed in women, because at that time women didn't really have a role in society. So he wanted to educate women so women could have a better role in society. So many of our sisters teach, and we have colleges, but then we develop social works, and the health part started in the 60s, both in Italy and in Brazil.
So obviously that was also a draw for you, considering that you were going through medical school.
That's right.
That you could be a sister, but also helping in social work or healthcare.
That's right.
Just a quick question. So you said Monsignor Luigi Biraghi, an Italian priest,
Right.
founded the congregation. Why did he name it after St. Marcellina?
That's a great story.
Because she was the older sister of St. Ambrose.
That's right.
Correct.
Who was a bishop in Milan.
In the 4th century or so?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. She lost her dad when she was young. She was they had a very rich family. And then she lost her dad. And then her mom died also when she was in her early 20s. So she had to educate her two brothers, Ambrosio and Satiro, which were two lay people that were very involved in society. And then Ambrosio was acclaimed by the population to be a bishop when the other bishop died. And then the two of them really thought about religious life. And she started one of the communities. That was like in 313 was when Constantinople, right?
Yeah, so
declared Christianity
to
as
be the official religion.
That's right. But before that, the Christians were dying because of their little bit what's happening in the world, right? Christians are dying because of their faith, and then the Christianity became a solid religion for the state, and so she dedicated her life and gave all her richness to the poor. And then lived to help her brother to do his mission,
his work.
As
and she was
bishop.
a consecrated. Speaking of consecrated life,
That's
she was a
right.
consecrated virgin because
That's
there wouldn't
right.
have been religious communities at the time.
That's right. But she started a little community. She was one of the first ones who
Now,
started
is there a little
religion.
bit about her life that also was a model for you, or that drew you?
I didn't really know what Marcellina was before I went to high school, but for our founder, it was really like an inspiration for our life and community, because she would pray a lot. She would, and we have a passage in the Bible, in the Gospel, that our founder reflects on what Martha and Maria.
Mary and Martha, yes.
And so he says, we have to be both.
Yes.
We have to do.
So Martha, you worry too much.
That's
Maria,
right.
Mary has had the
the
better
best
part,
part.
yes,
But you have to do.
it doesn't mean that
and then-
Martha's not doing what she shouldn't be doing. Yes.
That's right. And then you have to pray as Maria
Yes.
at the feet of Jesus.
Yes.
So that's in our houses. That's really an icon that comes up.
So you feel then that in your congregation you're doing both. The prayer supports the work that you're doing,
and the work comes back
comes
for us
back
to pray
to-
for the work. That's right.
So if I can skip ahead, so you're in Sao Paulo working in a hospital.
That's right. So after medical school, I did my residency in family medicine at St. Mary's, and then worked for 6 months, a little bit. And then the congregation decided I was ready to go to the mission and to go to Sao Paulo.
And this hospital already existed?
Yes. Since 1961. So when I got there, I had to revalidate my diploma, like any physician that comes abroad, and then that was another interesting thing in my story. That's why I think when you really give your life to God, He guides the way. And when I got to Brazil in the end of '94, was the time where Brazil started a program of family health.
Okay.
Before that, they didn't have family health medicine. And in '96, when I had revalidated my diploma, the Ministry of Health said to the sisters, well, would you help us to start the family health program in Sao Paulo?
Right.
And because I am a family physician,
Yes.
The sisters acknowledged, and then we signed an agreement, and then we started the family health program in Sao Paulo.
So you are you're actually functioning as a physician, or are you an administrator?
Administrator more now. Yeah. But at the beginning, I really helped to promote, and I was attending too, and then it grew. It just grew too much.
And the hospital is run by the sisters?
That's right. So we have the hospital, and then we have all the different health posts, which started with only 9 health posts, but now there are 113.
Amazing.
So we run 113 health posts, and then this big hospital was just a teaching hospital, because our charism is teaching. So we always whatever we do, we also try to bring the teaching. So
and you're serving is the general population.
That's
it's
right.
not a specific
it's
hospital.
in the east part of the city of São Paulo. City of São Paulo is huge, 11 million people.
Yes.
We take care about a chunk of it, which is 2.5 million people.
Right.
So we have the health post, and then the government also. I've been there for 20 years, so it's been many things happen.
Yes.
And in '98, the government gave to the sisters as well new hospitals to administer. So I was first administering a smaller hospital, which is 250 beds, more or less. And then we got another one, and then a third one. But I was only administering this hospital,
right.
And then now I've came to the big hospital about 8 years ago. But I still continue, like I do half time in the hospital and half time with the health post.
And how big is the community that you live in Sao Paulo?
We're 30 sisters.
30 sisters, but they don't all work in the hospital.
Most of them. Some of them
really?
are elderly now, but like we have a financial director, we have the president of the whole complex of health. She's a nurse, but she's an administrator as well. There's another physician. She's elderly, but she was the first one who started the hospital. We have physiotherapists, pharmacists, and nurses, lots of nurses.
Yeah, and of course you employ lay people
Right,
as doctors
right.
and
We
nurses and staff.
15,000 employees now.
15,000 employees.
Yeah, throughout the 3 hospitals
Okay, wow.
and the health posts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is partly funded by the government.
Most of it.
Most of it.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting. Now you're a religious sister.
that's right.
You're a doctor. You're an administrator now. How do you see your work different as a religious sister? Because you could have just been a doctor and done a lot of the same work.
Yeah, I think that's something we talk a lot about now because of Consecrated Life as well, right? The consecration part, I think, is the most important part, really, because whatever you do, it's all consecrated.
So what does that mean?
It's all given to God. God is the one who's in charge of our lives, being consecrated.
Yeah.
And that makes it different because I'm there now, but I could be anywhere. I could be
you could.
Like we have missions in Africa now. We have, and if God thinks I could do more somewhere else or not, if He thinks I could just,
So there's a freedom also to consecrating yourself.
That's right. And you have to think that even when you're sleeping, even when you're sick, even when your life has a purpose, because you consecrate it, you give it all to God, where He's gonna make it sacred.
Right. Do you think it's easier for you as a member of a religious community to do that? Because as a lay person, they can also consecrate, I guess, or try to consecrate everything they do to God.
Yeah.
Because they're living in the world, they're married or have children or whatever.
Yeah, but when we do our vows, we do 3 vows, right? Of chastity, obedience, and poverty. And that was poverty. Like, I use an iPhone, I drive a car.
Yes.
But it's not mine. It belongs to the community.
To the community.
I have a salary as a director of the hospital, but it's not mine. I give it to the community. I don't have a bank account.
Yes.
And then that freedom of not having to buy your thing and because you share it.
Yeah.
You make it worth more because you give it in the community. I think that's very important. And that's now in the world that we live, that's really a big big weight for people.
Well, it's great.
Absolutely.
I mean, the freedom that comes with that, and it all began with that moment of surrender.
That's right.
So many years ago. Sister, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I hope it's been an inspiration to our viewers, not just about consecrated life, but also about religious life.
Thank you for the opportunity to be able to share what God did in my life.
Thank you. We've been speaking with Sister Monique Bourget of the Institute of St Marcelina. You can find out more about her congregation at marceline.org. And now we want to hear from you. Are you living the consecrated life? Write to us and tell us your story. Or, how would you define consecrated life? Contact us via Facebook, facebook.com/saltandlighttv, or through Twitter @saltandlighttv. That's all for tonight. May God continue to bless you and your home.